This is Lionel, Director, Business Ventures, Trendlines Medical Singapore. Trendlines Medical Singapore is a subsidiary of the Trendlines Groups based in Israel, and we invest and incubate in startups in the medical technology or health technology segment at the seed stage. We invest in only 2% of the projects we see from both of our incubators in Singapore and Israel. We see more than 400 medical-related projects every year. The two main criteria that we look for when deciding on whether to support the startups are the addressable market and the potential market size that the startup is targeting, and does the solution of the startup solve an unmet clinical need. As part of our due diligence, we consult extensively with clinicians and executives in the MedTech industry to understand the landscape that the startup will be competing in. The startups that we are featuring today include Medulla Pro, which is developing a solution to allow clinicians to more easily and accurately perform lumbar puncture under ultrasound guidance. Ozone is developing a solution to monitor hydration status of patients more conveniently and accurately. Intervalve is addressing a huge catheter urinary tract infection health burden. Continel is allowing more women with stress urinary incontinence to enjoy a normal lifestyle. AZerSense is developing a solution to reduce pressure ulcers, which is a common issue in bedridden patients.
Hi, my name is Eunice. I'm the Business Development Manager in Trendlines Medical Singapore. I work closely with all 11 portfolio companies currently incubated in our facility. At the incubator, we provide a hands-on, full range of support to help startup companies in their product development and also navigate the various business issues that arise along the way. One of the key areas where startups need support is in business and financing. For example, looking for the right partners, be it technical, clinical, or investors at the various stages of their development. Through Trendline's extensive networks and relationships with research institutions, hospitals, and corporates, these channels of engagement, communication, and timely feedback are made available to our companies to help value add as they grow. Another aspect will be developing the regulatory strategy and establishing a strong quality management system, which are also crucial to getting the product approved for commercialization. We have our own Trendlines QA/RA specialists to help the companies in setting up their in-house QMS system and start factoring in regulatory considerations early in the development stage. On top of that, day-to-day operations do take up a significant amount of time and focus from the development team. One of the key support we provide is also in the area of operations, finance, and HR functions, which are taken care of to allow our startups to concentrate on product development, thus expediting time to market for their product. While the journey of startups is not always an easy one and challenges do come up once in a while, I think the value of being situated within the incubator creates an ecosystem of sharing and exchanges where our companies can rally around each other and also benefit from the sound expertise and guidance of the incubator team, making this journey a much more enjoyable and fulfilling one.
Hi, I'm John Chi, founder and CTO of AZerSense Technology. When I was an academic staff interacting with clinicians, I became aware of several pressing problems which clinicians faced. After years of research, I had developed a few prototypes and wanted to commercialize them through a medical startup. In 2018, AZerSense Technology was formed, and to date, we employ 4 staff with 70 plus years of cumulative engineering expertise and experience. We are strong in the fields of biomedical engineering, medical instrumentation, mechanical and quality engineering, and embedded systems software. Many people develop pressure ulcers while undergoing treatment in a hospital. Studies have shown that as many as 1 in 6 patients in a typical hospital are suffering from them. Pressure ulcers is an unnecessary complication which causes much pain to the patient and extends hospital stay. It consumes extra nursing care, occupies valuable bed space, and distracts doctors from doing more important tasks. Existing medical devices have not been successful in preventing them from occurring. We are developing a very promising solution using our patented technology and a targeted approach that is unique to this industry. We eliminate the root cause of pressure ulcer, which is inadequate blood circulation under high pressure regions. Our device, which we call SABRE, is Smart Automated Body Pressure Redistributor. It senses the body pressures of the patient and automatically adjusts the body weight support to lower the identified high pressures. This eliminates the root cause of pressure ulcers. Healthy volunteers, including clinicians, have tried our system and found pressure relief effective. We are now proceeding to conduct a clinical study involving more than 100 patients in collaboration with Tan Tock Seng Hospital.
Hi, I'm Alan, the manager for operations in AsiaSense. I would think there are basically two primary challenges. So like all companies focused on engineering and technology, technical challenges were a main obstacle at the initial stage. Beyond the initial stages of conceptualization, what lay before us were multiple possible paths we could choose from to actually rigorously embark on, with no solid way of actually determining which of these might eventually terminate with a dead end, be it in manufacturing feasibility or cost. In retrospect, when it came down to it, John and I probably chose based on our instincts, which I guess fortunately worked out for us. But I guess the moral of the story is that it is important to start with people who are strong in technical design and highly experienced in R&D, because a leap of faith at some point would definitely be necessary. Another issue we faced earlier on was how to look for suitable prototyping vendors, and after which actually convince them to take our jobs. Our main strategy was always to keep in mind the business model of the potential vendor, and also to remember that the future is kind of not set in stone. To accomplish that, we work with vendors whose business model specifically is to take on prototyping and actually engage the services to properly define the specifications together with us. We would then use the prototypes to search for potential manufacturers who can operate at a much larger scale. And with the specifications on hand, be free to switch between manufacturers should we wish to in the future.
Hello everyone, my name is Kelvin Lim and I am the project manager for Continental Medical. Continental Medical was incorporated in 2018 and is a spin-off company from innovation in Trendlines Labs. Continental Medical has developed a novel device for the treatment of stress urinary incontinence, also known as SUI. I am excited that through this session, I will have an opportunity to share more about the company and what we are doing. Stress urinary incontinence is the involuntary loss of urine due to an increase in abdominal pressure through day-to-day activities or movements such as physical exertion, lifting, bending, laughing, coughing, or sneezing. The most common causes of stress incontinence among women are pregnancy and childbirth. 1 in 3 women experience stress incontinence at some point in their lives. Globally, it is estimated that more than 200 million women suffer from SUI. Currently, there are few non-surgical and conservative treatments available. Of those that are available, these treatments are suboptimal and have low success rates. These include lifestyle changes, pelvic floor exercises, and the use of urethral or vaginal inserts and pessaries. Surgery or other more invasive options are usually recommended for severe SUI cases. Along with a low treatment success rate, some of these solutions also cause discomfort, pain, or urinary tract infections. Our novel device is based on technology which incorporates simple physics. The introduction of a small amount of air into the urinary bladder. This air acts as a shock absorber that reduces the pressure or stress applied on the bladder, thus eliminating or greatly reducing the involuntary loss of urine. On the business front, the primary driver behind the high cost of new product development is the amount of time required to take an idea from the conception stage to the realization stage. For Continuum Medical, it has been a few years in the making. By setting a solid foundation for a design project with clear and concise requirement specifications, these costs can be reduced, and startups like ourselves will realize faster to market times and an improved return on investment. Along the way, there will be many user inputs that needs to be considered, and these can be achieved by including all stakeholders early on in the requirements gathering process. These not only includes colleagues from engineering, but also from other departments such as quality, regulatory, and finance. In addition, we engage other key stakeholders who will be able to contribute to the success of the project, like our clinical advisors. The COVID pandemic has caused delays in obtaining the results from our first-in-human clinical trial. This was mainly due to patients' reluctance to visit the hospital to undergo additional testing. Now that we are slowly moving out of the COVID pandemic, we plan on ramping up participant recruitment again. We have been privileged to receive strong government support in the form of funding from both the Israel Innovation Authority and Enterprise Singapore, as well as investments from Trendlines Medical Singapore, which have come in handy to support our efforts to achieve the various milestones in our journey. We hope to receive continued support from these institutions to further our development and commercialization efforts, leading to regulatory approvals and further our growth and internationalization plans. Finally, and most importantly, the funding will go towards continued development of this novel and pioneering product for the millions of people who suffer from stress urinary incontinence.
Hi, I'm Simon, and I'm the project manager for Interval. Interval is developing UriGuardian. UriGuardian is a next generation Foley catheter designed to prevent the occurrence of catheter-associated urinary tract infections, and thus making healthcare more cost-effective and efficient for everyone, and more importantly, saving lives in the process. So even in the most advanced healthcare systems, such as the United States or in Europe, patients continue to develop new infections while undergoing other treatment. That is, that they are already sick and get a new infection because they're receiving hospital care. Most particular among that is catheter-associated urinary tract infections, also known as CAUTI. In severe cases, CAUTI not only leads to extended hospital stays and cost, but can even result in patient death. In the US alone, over 13,000 annual deaths were attributed to CAUTI. And that's where Interval comes in. We are developing UriGuardian. UriGuardian is a new generation Foley catheter with a bio-inspired design. Specifically, I mean our buffer zone, which re-enables the body's natural and effective defense mechanism against urinary tract infections. And all this without any procedural changes. Thus UriGuardian is a easy to use and reliably effective way to prevent CAUTI.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Sham from the Department of Surgery, Woodlands Health Campus in Singapore. Urinary tract infection is one of the most common healthcare associated infections. In the United States, up to 3/4 of these hospital infections are linked to the use of the urinary catheter. In Singapore, 1 out of every 6 patients in the general ward has a urinary catheter in them. Catheter-associated urinary tract infections, also known as CAUTI, is a major source of morbidity and inconvenience among our patients. CAUTI is also a significant financial burden for the healthcare sector. The estimated attributable cost of each case of CAUTI is over $1,000 in developed countries. There are many reasons why CAUTI happened. One of the main contributors to CAUTI is the formation of a bacterial layer on the surface of the catheter, known as the biofilm. It is very difficult to eliminate the bacteria from within this biofilm, and it's a matter of time for the bacteria to move along the surface of the catheter into the patient's body to cause an infection. Another main reason for CAUTI to happen is the loss of the physiological flushing action of urine. When a patient is on a catheter, the urine will come out in small drops instead of the usual voided volume of about 300 mL. To address these issues, a new catheter has been designed from the strong collaboration between the National Healthcare Group Singapore, the NHG Centre of Medical Technologies and Innovations, and Trendlines Medical Singapore. The new UriGuardian catheter has a different design that tackles CAUTI at its pathogenesis by disrupting the continuity of the biofilm as well as by simulating the physiological flushing action of urine. The new catheter has undergone benchtop testing as well as preclinical studies, and I'm excited to test its safety and efficacy in human subjects in an upcoming clinical study.
Like any other startup, Interval faced many challenges through the development process. Most notable and probably most universal was identifying all the product success requirements as early as possible and integrating them into our development plan. In Interval's case, as a healthcare company, we help mitigate this by having very close collaboration with clinicians, most particularly Dr. Sheng from Khoo Teck Puat Hospital here in Singapore. In addition to that, we did considerable research on the individual market requirements for our kind of products. And we also sought out experts who could give us their opinion and guidance on how to develop our kind of products, particularly with its nuanced manufacturing processes, and successfully bring it to market. An additional challenge is related to that, and that's knowing when a product is good enough to bring to market. As I'm sure many other startups know, the to-do list of things to do in terms of product development is always very long. And as development goes on, it all just continues to get longer. And what's important to realize, and usually this comes from the business side of the business, is that not all of these quote unquote product requirements are actually required for the product to be commercially successful. So it's important to understand what is the minimum requirements needed to make the product viable to go to market, and setting that as the primary goal. And then anything else you add on is just additional sweetener for the product. Interval's progress so far, and likely our continued success in the future, is greatly dependent on the external resources we've received along the way. Most notable is a network, connections, specifically to experts, whether that be in production, regulatory affairs, quality assurance, markets, or the clinical usage. The fact of the matter is, our startup, much like most startups, have very high information needs. So there's a lot of unknowns that we need to investigate and get to the bottom of. And to think that we can do it all by ourselves is foolish. We need experts, and a lot of them. And through our connections with Trendlines Medical Singapore, Enterprise Singapore, as well as the National Healthcare Group, we've been able to make the connections to appropriate people to get to the answers we need. And this would certainly continue in the future. An additional resource that we've received is financing. Everyone needs financing. And for us, we have received our fair share from our incubator as well as Enterprise Singapore. And in the near future, we'll be undergoing another round of financing where we hope to bring in more third-party external investors.
Hi, I'm Desmond, Senior Product Development Engineer of Modular Pro Technology, a portfolio company of Trendline Medical Singapore. Modular Pro is developing a real-time ultrasound guidance lumbar puncture device that enables real-time imaging and tracking of the needle during insertion. This is achieved through the accurate deflection of the ultrasound waves. The methodology of accurate deflection of the ultrasound waves enables accurate in-plane needle entry while maintaining the resolution of the ultrasound image.
When we advance a needle towards a target within the body, the most direct and shortest path would be ideal, provided there are no intervening vital structures. We can use ultrasound imaging to enhance the precision, as it allows real-time visualization of the needle as it moves within the body. However, it is technically challenging to maintain constant view of the needle under ultrasound imaging, and it would take experienced hands for reliable execution. Also, the access to the most direct path is prevented because the point of entry of the needle is covered by the footprint of the ultrasound probe. At Modular Pro, we are designing a product to overcome this. It is a device that is added on to existing ultrasound probes. It will allow the needle to have the most direct access to the target while facilitating real-time visualization of the needle tip, even in less experienced hands. We have chosen to focus on lumbar puncture because this is an essential diagnostic and therapeutic procedure in medicine, and also because real-time imaging of this procedure has been recognized to be challenging even in experienced hands.
One of the key challenges that the company has faced in their early stage development is the need for more clinical inputs and data for lumbar puncture and how it's performed in the clinical settings. The company has since worked with 2 clinicians from the National Healthcare Group. Their clinical expertise and continuous involvement in the discussion, testings, and review of the device have provided the company with many valuable inputs. The development of medical devices requires multidisciplinary expertise. Fortunately, we have a team of knowledgeable colleagues from Trendline Medical Singapore and Labs Singapore supporting our development effort. And with that, I'm confident that the company will be able to overcome any challenges presented to us.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ivan, project manager from Azone Medical, and I'm really excited to share with you about our startup company. We are developing a hydration monitoring device that is based on tongue bioimpedance. So what we have is a patent pending technology. The device itself is clinical grade, handheld, and shows the patient's hydration results in real time. We have completed a preliminary clinical study in Rambam Hospital, Israel, and we found an amazing correlation with hydration status on dialysis patients as well as healthy runners. And we are currently working on a clinical study in Tan Tock Seng Hospital, Singapore, on acute heart failure patients. So that's the gist of our company. The Azone device can help many people, from patients with heart failure, with kidney failure, as well as athletes and soldiers. Basically, people who need fluid management or need to assess their hydration levels. So the problem with current fluid management methods is that they are not quantitative. They are based on methods such as tedious fluid intake charts and clinical assessments, which sometimes can be subjective. With this tongue bioimpedance technology, clinicians and patients themselves can accurately and quantitatively measure their fluid intake. This allows better intervention and early intervention before the onset of symptoms, which will improve clinical outcomes. And really, the value of this device is also to guide the physician's care. We envision that these readings can help potentially to titrate diuretic prescription and fluid restriction. So to conclude, there's a lot of ways in which this device can help patients. Within our team, we have a strong set of technical expertise. And for this reason, technical development has been going very well. But for medical devices in general, an important component is clinical data. We need data through clinical study to prove our correlations, to prove efficacy, to drive development, design, and sales. Unfortunately, as COVID-19 happened, this put a damper, a huge barrier to our clinical study timelines. But fortunately, we have a team of clinicians who are not only very experienced, but also very dedicated. They have put in a lot of effort to initiate the clinical trial. And thanks to this, we have now begun our clinical study in Tan Tock Seng Hospital on heart failure patients, and we are on track to achieve our milestones. In our startup company, we are a lean team that is working on a medical device, which is a very complex product. Medical device development involves many aspects, from technical development, quality management, regulatory, clinical, to eventually sales. We have been very fortunate to have an amazing team from Trendlines Medical Singapore, our incubator, as well as the National Healthcare Group to support all of our activities. Going ahead, there will surely be a lot more challenges, but we are confident that with the support that we have, we can obtain the necessary resources that we need to go all the way to success.